Hi, I'm Pastor Dave. Thanks for watching this week's video. You know, it's getting close to Christmas time, and Christmas is just a special time of year. You'll be enjoying time with family and friends and just celebrating the holidays together. However, that's not the case for everybody. Could you imagine being homeless during the holidays? Could you imagine having to sleep on a cold city street, a concrete slab, maybe having a cardboard box to lay on? You know, that's becoming more and more of the norm in cities around America. The mainstream media is not talking about this. You know, when we think about homelessness, when we think about refugees, when we think about people out on the streets, we think about what's happening over in Syria. You know, at this point, there's been over 250,000 people killed in that civil war over in Syria. The UN stopped counting at 250,000. If you look at the nation of Jordan, the second most popular area in Jordan, you know, Amman is the most popular. The second one is the refugee center from the refugees that come over for their lives, running from their lives from Syria. You know, when you think of refugees, you think about what's happening over in places like Venezuela. I mean, last week the whole show was on Venezuela and how bad how desperate it is there, how bad the conditions are. People are fleeing for their lives. Moms are going to grocery stores to buy food for their kids, and there's just no food. You think about Paris. A few weeks ago on the Interpreting Times website and on the Facebook page, I posted a brief video that someone shot over in Paris. I mean, Paris, the city people love to go to, well, it looks like a war zone now because the refugees, the spillover there, there's no place to put them. There's no place to go. So they're sleeping on the streets. They're sleeping in the median of the streets. There's beds and mattresses and sleeping bags and trash and everything. It looks like a war zone. So when you think of homelessness, we kind of get that picture because that's what the media shows us. Or we get this image of some old man some drunk old man and laying in the gutter, you know, begging for change. But that's not what homelessness looks like now in America. The middle class is suffering from this more and more. These are good people. These are moms and dads, and especially children. Poverty USA, which is a nonprofit group, they just reported that in 2015, 1.6 million children here in America either stayed in a homeless shelter or were homeless themselves. They needed an emergency shelter. 1.6 million of our kids. Now the media, again, doesn't report on this. Since our last recession ended, not when it started, not in 2007, 2008, but when it officially ended, that number has increased by 60%. These are kids who are on the streets. When you look at the Los Angeles, the LA Weekly, the local newspaper in Los Angeles, they're reporting that the homeless crisis there is worse than ever before. They're saying that based on stats from HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD is saying here that more people are suffering from homelessness in LA than any other city in America. That includes New York City. It's so bad in Los Angeles, the homeless population in Los Angeles. And again, these aren't drunk old men laying in the gutter. These are middle-class families, moms and dads and kids who are now on the streets. It is so bad in Los Angeles that the LA City Council has asked the California Governor, Jerry Brown, to officially declare a state emergency. Were you aware of that? How come we haven't heard about this? When the LA City Council goes to the governor of the state and says, will you please declare a state of emergency? That's how severe the homelessness is in Los Angeles. The number of people living in New York City has reached numbers like never before. They're record high numbers. According to the Department of Homeland Services, they're saying over 60,000 people in New York City are classified as homeless. And the other part of that is 2/3 of those who live in New York, 2/3 are this close to being homeless. They're a paycheck away. So if they get ill or they lose their job, there's no savings. 2/3 of the city is a paycheck or 2 paychecks away from being homeless. And if you've been following this website or these videos for a while, you know we don't think there's going to be prosperity for much longer. There's going to be some crisis. There's going to be some dark times. What happens to these people when that comes? And when you look at the stats out there, the cold, hard reality is that there are too many people who are desperate and barely clinging on. And what does that look like when a recession comes? What's that look like when things begin to fall apart? You don't have to have a whole lot of resources to do something. You know, when you look at this, you say, well, what can I do? Who am I? There's an article about some women in Tennessee. These are elderly women in Tennessee. And they saw what was happening there in Tennessee. And they said, well, we can do something. And they have a knitting group, a sewing group. So they started getting plastic bags, you know, the grocery store bags that everybody throws away. And they would cut them into strips. And they started sewing them together and making mats for those who are homeless. Something that they could lay on, something between them and the cold concrete. It says that it takes 600 bags to make an 18 square foot mat. And so far, these wonderful ladies they've put together 52,000 bags and made 88 mats. 52,000 bags, 88 people have something to sleep on. Not much, but something. So you don't have to be rich. You don't have to have a lot of resources to help, to care. As we head into the Christmas season, we need to be aware of how bad this situation is. We are on the verge of a crisis when it comes to homelessness. You know, there's a war on homelessness as well. Reading some of the articles and what's happening around the country, I was trying to find out, are people doing anything? Are people aware of it? There's a church in Maryland. They allow homeless people to sleep on their property. And there's two reasons that people want to do that. One, they have no other place to go. And two, they feel safe sleeping at the church. Well, the pastor came to church, came to work one morning, and there was a citation on his door, on the church door. And the city officials in Maryland were going to sue the church. They're going to fine the church $12,000. And what they said was because they have unhoused homeless people sleeping outside the church. Well, how could you be housed if you're homeless? But that's a different thing. So these people are sleeping outside, and the authorities of Maryland, they say that the church is running a non-permitted rooming and boarding house. $12,000. Now, I don't know if the fine's official, if it's a warning, if it's a threat, what's happening there. The article didn't go into great detail. But could you imagine what that church would do if they're trying to help the homeless with $12,000? And the city's coming against them because they're saying that it's not permitted. There's a man in Houston who for 27 years, he's been out feeding homeless people. And now he's marked as an outlaw. He's a criminal because now it's against the law in Houston and parts of Houston to feed homeless in city parks or around schools. And it's not just in Houston, it's also in Florida. Palm Beach, Florida, there's a Christian couple who for years have been providing hot meals on Wednesdays, Saturday mornings, and Sundays. Doing it for years at their own cost, volunteers. And the police came out and they're going to arrest them if they continue to do this. There's a war against the homeless. The whole idea is if we can move them out of here, if we can get them out of here, they won't be our problem anymore. If we don't see them, it's not a problem. But we in America, and really around the globe, we're in a crisis situation. People are that close to, the middle class is that close to suffering and ending up on the streets. The number of kids, the number of women, the number of families that are out there are just amazing. And the authorities, people are passing laws, making it illegal to sleep in your car or your truck or RV. In Texas, that's happening. In California, that's happening, where you cannot sleep near a school or anything that's not commercial. If it's industrial commercial, then you're allowed to sleep between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. But they're trying to drive the homeless out of the communities where people can help them. You know, we're heading into Christmas, and it's a time to really rejoice and celebrate and just enjoy time with family and friends. But I want you to be aware of the crisis and what's happening, not only here in America. It's not just in LA, it's not just in New York, it's not just Chicago or Texas or Florida, it's everywhere. And it's globally. People are without homes. And my question is, when the next recession happens, when the next financial dip happens, how many more people will be out in the streets? I just want you to be aware of what's happening. You know, if you want more information on this, the website is interpretingthetimes.com. If you Google that, it's all one word, interpretingthetimes.com. We keep you up to date on articles and situations and try to give you a biblical perspective and make you aware of things that the mainstream media may not be making you aware of, so that you are informed and you know about the day you're living in and you know what to do. So hey, Christmas is around the corner, so I want to say Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful time. And I look forward to being back again next week with you. So between now and next week, whatever you do, please do it all for the glory of God. God bless you.